Hey folks, today we're talking about cross-picking and pioneering Stanley Brothers guitarist George Shuffler. You see, recently on my website, I wrote an article responding to a YouTube comment I received from Batman, the real Batman. And that comment was all about cross-picking with the down-down-up pattern versus cross-picking with alternate picking, which becomes this huge semantic rabbit hole of what even is cross-picking. For instance, I think we can all agree that this is cross-picking, but do you think that this is cross-picking? They certainly sound similar, but like I said in my article, the traditionalist will say no and the progressivist will say yes, and I'm not sure who is right. But before we even get into unpacking that question, I do want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by DistroKid. DistroKid is an awesome service that does digital distribution for musicians. Basically, you upload your tracks, your album, whatever, and they'll get it onto like Spotify and iTunes, and Pandora, and YouTube, and even TikTok, all kinds of different services. And they work on a yearly subscription model, so they don't take any commission off of your streams or downloads. They also do payment splits, so your collaborators can get paid automatically just like you. They truly are a wonderful service. Tons of my friends have used DistroKid to get their albums out into the world. Now, if you'd like to sign up for DistroKid and start releasing music online too, you can use my link, distrokid.com/VIP/Marcel, and that'll get you 7% off your first year's membership. That link will be in the description below. Once again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/Marcel. Is the definition of cross-picking tied up in just imitating the roll patterns of a banjo, regardless of picking pattern? Or is it specifically tied up in George Shuffler style down, down, up, and Jesse McReynolds style down, up, up? You get a lot of different answers online, and lots of people politely and impolitely arguing on internet forums. To throw a new wrench into this problem, Troy Grady seems to be referring to just alternate picking with your pick strokes leaving the plane of the strings on an arc as bluegrass cross-picking.
So even though this here is a scalar lick, this is still cross-picking.
But that's not traditionally what that term means. In bluegrass, we tend to call that just flat picking. By the way, Troy Grady's video is wonderful. I'm just debating definitions of the term cross-picking here. Definitely watch his videos on bluegrass if you want to get into some of the mechanics of the right hand. To get at the real heart of what cross-picking is, let's talk George Shuffler. At 12 years of age, George Shuffler received his first guitar. His father traded in a broken-down car for a Kalamazoo. Shuffler learned 3 chords from a neighbor and intuitively made up many more chords. To his surprise, he found his homemade chords were the same shapes more experienced guitarists in his area were making. Shuffler became fluent in Travis picking and the Carter scratch. These talents led to him accepting a job playing bass with the Bailey Brothers for $60 a week on the Grand Ole Opry, double what he had been making at the mill.
Like to call on the fellow over here picking the guitar to do a little song for you now. Down in Hickory, North Carolina, Uncle George Shuffler. If you'd make him welcome, I know he'd appreciate it.
In 1950, Shuffler joined the Stanley Brothers, and though the band was well established as an early and culturally significant bluegrass band, they still went through what Shuffler described as lean times.
And remember, it was back during the lean years of bluegrass, and we traveled, the 3 of us.
The fact that y'all didn't carry a full band, you had to fill in those spaces.
I had to do those spaces. We didn't have a fiddler or a mandolin to step in to help do it, you know. It was George and then George and then George, and so...
During these times, the band would tour with only Ralph Stanley, Carter Stanley, and George Shuffler. Shuffler found that using Travis picking or the Carter scratch wasn't enough to fill the space for his breaks. Instead, he developed cross-picking. By imitating the roll of a banjo, he could include the chord structure, the melody, and a constant stream of eighth notes in his breaks, leading to a full sound even when the band was lean. And thanks to those rough times, Shuffler became the father of cross-picking and a necessary stop for anyone interested in the history of the technique. Now we understand why and where cross-picking made its way into bluegrass, but if we want to cross-pick ourselves, we need to talk to someone who has devoted a lot of time to studying Shuffler's playing. My student Mike suggested I get in touch with fellow YouTuber James Stiltner. James is an interesting dude. His YouTube channel is a sea of classic country archive footage, but he also posts videos of himself demonstrating early bluegrass guitar techniques that few folks have really kept alive in the post-Tony Rice flat-picking scene. A quick Facebook friend request later, and we were sitting down for a talk on Skype.
I would say I was about 15 when I really started to seriously think about it, and it really didn't sound like anybody else. So I said, well, I think I want to play in that style, the older style.
Yeah.
The one that he made popular was that "Will You Miss Me?"
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How do you define cross-picking? If you had to explain it to me like I didn't know what it was, how would you describe it?
I'm going to say that's probably how I would describe it, would be like the 3 wooden crosses. It's 3. I guess that's just the only thing I've ever had in my head when I was playing it was, 1, 2, 3. My grandpa, he really couldn't do it. He would go 3 down, 1, 1, 1, like that. Down, down, up is really what George Shuffler did. Bill done a Jesse roll backwards.
Down, up, up.
Yeah, he done a whole lot of that. Bill was the only one to do it on the guitar at the time. Bill could do the forward roll, we'll call it, but he could do the other one too. Like on Truck Driver's Queen. But no, I would describe it as 1, 2, 3 all the way, even if you're going down, down, up, or down, up, up.
A lot of people online are arguing about it, and they're saying that when you alternate pick it, when you down, up, down, up, down, up, that's not cross-picking. It has to be down, down, up, or down, up, up.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think you should put limits on things like that. I mean, if you want to call it cross-picking, so what?
I agree with you. It's more about imitating the banjo than anything.
I think the story was that George Shuffler was just playing like the 1-string simple stuff, and Carter told him to just do something. Do something extra, I don't think he could really pull off the really fast picking like Bill did, like Mountain Dew. He played down here on the bridge a lot. That's how he got that, sound. Like that. A lot of what George done was he would always use, if you're in G, you would go, he would use like the F as a 7th. He would use that as a full 7th chord.
Uh-huh.
Like, see, what is that?
And Worried Man, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. That's something like that. And,
man, it sounds like I need to just drive up there. You're gonna put me up.
I got a spare couch, or I'll even sleep on the couch and let you have the bed. I'm not picky.
After talking to James and getting a very traditional lesson in Shuffler-style crosspicking, I thought it was time to take on some of these breaks myself and to break down crosspicking using more modern rhythm analysis. If you listen to different recordings of Shuffler's kickoff to this tune, he plays it in a number of different ways. This tab is a combination of those recordings, how I've heard players in jams and bands I've performed with, how he teaches it in his instructional DVD. Hopefully merging all of those different sources gives us a pretty universal version of this break. Looking at the tab, we can start analyzing the different parts. For instance, we can see the pickup phrase that kicks us into the break, 2 unique variations of his forward roll cross-picking pattern, and 1 measure of straight flat picking using alternate picking. Let's look at the most basic cross-picking pattern first. This pattern only takes up 1 measure and can be described in several ways, either by pick strokes, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, or by counting the groupings of notes, normally spoken as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Those pick strokes and counts are enough to try out cross-picking for yourself, but remember, Shuffler himself played the first note of each down, down, up grouping as a rest stroke, meaning the pick pushes through the string and comes to rest on the next string. This makes the complete down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up pattern have a more rhythmic feel to it. With accents on 1, the and of 2, and beat 4, we end up with what's normally called the pop soca rhythm or the pop clave, which, as the name would suggest, is very popular in modern pop music. So let's check out how well this basic cross-picking pattern works over Ed Sheeran's tune, Shape of You. That's right, George Shuffler is one of Ed Sheeran's greatest influences. Mathematician turned music theorist Godfrey Toussaint covered these types of rhythms in his paper about the Euclidean algorithm generating rhythms used in traditional music. Though Toussaint never made the connection to bluegrass crosspicking, 2 of the first rhythms shown in his unique notation are Shuffler-style down-down-up and McReynolds-style down-up-up picking. Another pattern Shuffler favors in the Will You Miss Me kickoff is a 2-measure cross-picking pattern. With pick strokes, it would look like this, and if you were counting the groupings, you'd find this. Yet again, we're seeing mainly groups of 3 with a couple extra notes at the end to tie things off. With the rest stroke accents, we see another interesting rhythm developing. In this chart here, we can see a number of interesting bossa nova variations that Toussaint mapped out, and the genres where they're primarily employed. Example number 16 lines up with the accents of George Shuffler's 2-measure cross-picking pattern, so I guess Toussaint should have labeled that one Bluegrass Crosspicking. Ethan Hines' 2013 blog post about Godfrey Toussaint is a great source for more information on the music and mathematics of this whole theory, if you're interested in that. Alright, so this is all good, but what about cross-picking in the modern world? So this is the famous Molly Tuttle clip. I've done 2 videos about this performance, and most of the comments and questions I get are about Molly Tuttle's cross-picking. Or is it even cross-picking? Because Molly Tuttle, like many modern performers, stays true to alternate picking 100% of the time. Listen to her play this section of cross-picking from her interview with Acoustic Guitar Magazine, but also watch the pick strokes in her hand and the notation.
Once you have that pattern down,
Molly does go on to explain and demonstrate the Shuffler approach of down, down, up, though.
So the other cross-picking patterns, and people break that and just go down, down, up, down, down, up, down, up.
In real life, for practical playing purposes, both of these approaches are acceptable, and Molly even says that, if you don't believe me.
Play those 2, which feels more comfortable to you, which you can kind of play faster and more accurately with. And I think everyone's different. They also have different sounds, so you might want to get comfortable with both so you can choose, depending on the song, which sound you like better.
So this takes us back to the question, though, are both of these examples cross-picking or not? Is this pedantic? Yes. Do I think one pattern is better than the other? No. But do people in my comment section like to argue about this? Hell yes. Over the course of reading these comments and discussions on my YouTube channel, various Facebook groups, and forums, I found one killer post by Jordan Ramsey. Jordan attended the ETSU Bluegrass and Country Music program. He studied with everyone ever. He's been on stage with everyone ever, and he has a bunch of contest wins under his belt too. On the subject of alternating pick strokes when cross-picking, Jordan had this to say. Cross-string picking, for lack of a better term, is the emulation of a cross-picking roll while using alternating pick direction. CSP happened after the McReynolds-Shuffler roll. It emulates the sound but does not reproduce the syncopation created by the consecutive stroke picking patterns. Most flat pickers ingrain alternating pick direction as a default approach to playing smoothly across strings, so it is no surprise that many attempting to emulate the cross-picking sound would end up using CSP, either out of a lack of knowledge of the technique or for ease of execution. The problem is that many players adopt the term without truly adopting the technique, which has muddied the waters, so to speak, with the definition. CSP yields a very different articulation than true cross-picking and creates no syncopation. This is the main case for distinction between the approaches. The word cross-picking was created and first used to describe the specific McReynolds-Shuffler approach, but today it's more often used as a catch-all phrase for any time two or more strings are ringing simultaneously on a mandolin or a guitar. Even though there are similarities, a 3-note pattern across strings with alternate pick direction will sound nothing like a cross-picking roll. So after hearing some awesome opinions from Jordan Ramsey and James Stiltner and reviewing that Molly Tuttle footage, there's only a few big conclusions that I can draw. Number 1, y'all got to calm down about whether it's better to cross-pick with down, down, up or alternate picking. I've said in multiple videos before that I favor different approaches for different situations, and I think that's the best answer you're going to get. Different strokes for different folks. So many different great players have used either approach with fantastic results that you'd be ignorant to deny one approach and its legitimacy. If you're starting out and you're looking for something that feels right, just try both. Number 2, whether you're teaching or learning, multiple terms for the same thing helps and hurts. Some folks love it and they want to make the music more academic. Others think that if it sounds good, it's good. This John McGann quote that I'm shamelessly stealing from Jordan Ramsey seems to wrap it up nicely though. Specific sounds sometimes require specific techniques. Anything else is an approximation. Life is short, so either close enough is okay or life is too short for close enough. Is it micro dweeby, micro nerdy to be so picky? I don't know. Is it micro nerdy when your carpenter, plumber, car mechanic, dentist, surgeon really pays attention to the fine points and details? I, for one, will probably never chastise a student or fellow musician for trying to be more specific with their language. But for teaching purposes, when introducing this subject as a new technique, I think cross-picking works fine as an umbrella term for both approaches. If we want to be more specific, I don't see why we don't just say down, down, up cross-picking or alternating cross-picking. Something like that would work just fine for me, and I think the intent of your words is very clear which technique you're describing. Now, I know this video has been a little bit different than what I usually do. If you like this style of video essay, please let me know down in the comments, like, subscribe, you know all the things that you're supposed to do on YouTube. Also, give our sponsor DistroKid a visit using the link in the description down below. I wouldn't have been able to set aside all the time to make a bigger video like this one without their help, so using their services means that you support me, and it means that I can make more videos like this one, so I really appreciate it if you do those things. Anyway, I'll see you next week.